I'm Jay.
I'm Adrian.
And together we are the
Two Crazy Cat Ladies.
I'm gonna cut you.
I think I just peed.
Buckle up.
We're back in the closet.
Welcome to another episode of Back in the Closet with the Two Crazy Cat Ladies. Guys, we are so excited to have back on our podcast two of our most favorite beautiful humans on the planet. And brilliant masterminds behind CocoTherapy.com. Carmina and Carissa, thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Can we? I mean, I know that most of our people already know you and your beautiful work that you do, and the beautiful work that is going on in the field, all the toys that you guys have made, all that kind of stuff. Tonight is going to be about coconut oil, but for anyone who hasn't met you guys yet, would you guys do a short intro, especially since you're identical twins? Because you're just gonna. You didn't even wear different colors tonight. There's like no hope for anybody.
Yeah, right. Well, we come from a family of people who have grown coconuts and made coconut oil for 3 generations. So it's been a part of our life since we were born. So it's something that we know about and we have used for everything, for cooking, for first aid. We've given it to our animals. My grandma would make the coconut oil in her kitchen. So it's just a big part of our, what we know. Yeah. And I think because we grew up with it, and that's the only oil we use, by the way, in the Philippines. I don't know if it's cultural, but veterinarians use it for animals. They recommend it to animals all the time. It's part of their diet. So it's something that we've just lived with since, for 3 generations.
I love it so much. Very sorry about the ding that just happened. It's
I forget to shut off my notifications before these.
That's okay. And my dog's barking. It's every time she hears me talking.
It's real life.
It's real life. We're back in the closet. We do this live so that we could just I bring it real. So
I remember being mind blown by you guys though, because I grew up, coconut oil was not really a thing. Olive oil. Sure, you use olive oil to cook with. Didn't really realize all the different applications for coconut oil. And so listening to some of these stories and the things that it's just fascinating.
Well, and interesting that you say that veterinarians in the Philippines use coconut oil on their clients, because we first learned about the benefit of coconut oil, not actually from you, but talking about your products from a world-renowned veterinarian, Dr. Karen Becker. And she was talking about how the power of coconut oil and how it helps with her clients, dogs specifically at that time is what she was talking about, and all the different modalities that she was using it for. And we were like, what? And then she had recommended CocoTherapy, and we were like, let's look into this. And then we were like, we got to meet these girls. Yeah. So go ahead.
Well, can we start with the basics? Because, it's like olive oil has, people I think understand olive oil, avocado oil. When you're thinking about coconut oil in general, not all coconut oils are created equal. Can you explain?
Not all oils are created equal.
Right.
Right.
Well, but still, it's like, I remember people asking, it was always the number one question, and I had, what do you use for cats? What kind of olive oil? Right. So what are the different coconut oil? What are the different kinds of coconut oils out there? And how do they, are there different applications for different kinds? Do you only recommend one kind?
Are they all just the same across the board?
Right. Well, first, coconut oil is so unique. I think it's the most unique fat because, first of all, it's a saturated fat. So that alone scares people. But there's different kinds of saturated fat. There's a long chain and medium chain saturated fats. So coconut oil is the only medium chain fat, and it's usually found in coconuts, palm oil, and mother's milk. Those are the 3 places where you can get medium chain saturated fats. Yeah. And because saturated fats are so misunderstood, it tends to scare people. And a lot of, like the American Heart Association, they have one blanket statement: stay away from saturated fats. Go with polyunsaturated fats. When like olive oil. Yeah. Well, that's a monounsaturated coming out. But polyunsaturated canola oil, seed oils, vegetable oils, those are very pro-inflammatory. But they brainwash people into saying polyunsaturated fats are better for you. The thing is, polyunsaturated fats are very unstable. They oxidize easily and they cause oxidative stress on the body. They're actually very cancerous. And there's studies on that.
Yeah.
So
I feel like we all know that now. Like when it's like
No.
canola oil, right? Like people say maybe they don't
Seed
know
oils.
the polyunsaturated term, but they
Yeah.
know these specific seed oils. Lots of studies
Yeah,
out there.
yeah.
These
Yeah.
these canola oil, like they're always like people are like staying away from them now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're very pro-inflammatory. So coconut oil, because it gets lumped as in the saturated fat basket, people think it's automatically very bad for you, it'll clog your arteries, etc.
Yeah.
But what makes coconut oil so unique is that the way it's metabolized. So it's metabolized very easily and cleanly, different from long chain saturated
Yeah,
fats, which is like the meats and the like animal protein fats. So it doesn't need bile acids or pancreatic lipase to break it down. So if you eat coconut oil, it goes through the portal vein to the liver, and it's broken down and converted to ketones, which we know is a very clean form of energy.
Yeah.
And it actually ketones can actually cross the blood-brain barrier and nourish your brain. So at a cellular level, it's actually really good for you because it's low stress metabolically. Whereas long chain fats, you need chylomicron activity. It actually gets transported out through your intestines. You need bile acids and pancreatic lipase to be digested. Break down long chain fats. That's why people think that. I mean, it stresses your pancreas. So coconut oil being a saturated fat, thinking like it's a long chain fat, although the metabolism pathway is extremely different, that's why they think, oh, it must cause pancreatitis, which it actually doesn't. But but there's so many applications to coconut oil, like you were saying, just the benefits alone, especially for cats. People know that cats might be sensitive to fats. For example, if they can't metabolize it easily, will they get fatty liver disease? So, but there's so many things about coconut oil that actually helps animals, and you might want to talk. Well, yeah. Well, you know what? I think we didn't answer your question. Your answer, she's the barker. Your question was the differences between coconut oil. So I think we kind of went to the differences between saturated fat and why coconut oil was so villainized. But there are so many differences with coconut oil. There's refined oil, partially refined oil. There's cold pressed oil. There's fractionated coconut oil. There's oil for therapeutic purposes, which is what we make, that has to have really high medium chain fatty acid content. And there's oil for cosmetic purposes, which is the oil it's refined. They use that for shampoo and soap, conditioners. There's cooking oil, food grade oil, which is better than cosmetic grade oil, but it is partially refined as well. So they use that for cooking. You can tell by the melting points. You can see when it melts, it's different. You can also smell the difference. So it's used for different applications. Coconut oil is used in a variety of things, but for our coconut oil, what we make it for is specifically for therapeutic benefits. And there's actually many different ways to make coconut oil. And because our family made coconut oil for the therapeutic industry, meaning for the nutraceutical industry to make preemie baby formulas, which needs a lot of lauric, caprylic, and capric acids, and also for lauric acid supplements. So that's the industry that our family focused on, and that's the oil that we wanted to bring to our animals because that's the healthiest oil.
Talking about the brain barrier. That's why you guys are so smart growing up. Like, come on, you guys are so smart. I love hearing you guys talk about this.
Tell me if I'm wrong though, because when people ask, I always say organic, unrefined, which is also another word for virgin, right?
Yes.
Pressed coconut oil that's what we use to cook with. That's what we use for ourselves.
We use yours
for pets, and that's what we use for our cats. Now, I want to talk a little bit about, you had mentioned earlier, and I think that was something, that a lot of people had concerns about. Never give coconut oil if you have pancreatitis. Never give coconut oil if there's any kind of GI upset. And I do understand that as with anything natural, different cats will respond differently to different doses, to different frequencies, all of that. We have found it to be hugely helpful for our cat that was dealing with constipation, for cats that are dealing with hairballs. We found found it amazing for
Dry
topical
skin.
issues, right? Like,
Yep.
and it's one of those things that you don't have to worry about your cat ingesting because it is not something. Are there any things in the research that you've done and the research that you've read where, oh, this cat should never get organic cold pressed virgin coconut oil?
We have not seen any research that says cats should not have organic cold pressed virgin coconut oil. In fact, in our experience, and we've had cats many years, coconut oil, we know the general benefits, like we say, healthy skin and coat, anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, etc. But we've seen incidences where coconut oil has literally helped our cats like beyond what people understand. For example, I had a ragdoll cat. He was about 20 pounds in his prime, and towards the end of his life, and they get sick, they get old, etc. There's one time when he started to stop eating. So, you get worried when cats stop eating suddenly. I mean, he was eating, but he was losing weight very quickly. So in the back of my head, I'm thinking, okay, fatty liver disease. He might get hepatic lipidosis, right? So, and his appetite wasn't there. But I started giving him coconut oil knowing that giving him coconut oil will not cause fatty liver disease. And we took his lipid profile and we were checking because we went to Dr. Watson, who is strictly a cat vet. And he knows quite a lot about cats. And he says, just because you're giving a fat or like coconut oil to a cat doesn't mean he's going to get fatty liver disease. In fact, it helped Numi because his body didn't go into starvation diet mode, for example. Because if you get fatty liver disease and the cat stops eating, right, they need fat to burn energy. And what happens is they start getting fat from around their body to burn, and their liver is not working as well. So their liver starts to store that fat. Right. Yep. So because I was giving him an alternative, easy source of energy like coconut oil, he never stored that fat, and it actually
he didn't have to get the fat from his
body because he was a big boy. Yeah. You know what I mean? He did not get any sense of that. So I honestly think, and he lived for many years after that, and he was completely fine. It actually helped nourish him. So it was not a problem.
Yeah. And I had a cat who had pancreatitis. He was diagnosed.
Another thing.
He was diagnosed at when he was 15 years old. He lived to be almost 20 with pancreatitis.
He could not handle a lot.
He couldn't handle fat, not even fish oil. I couldn't even give him fish oil. I mean, it would just make him vomit and get a bout of pancreatitis. But I gave him coconut oil. During his last years of his life, I switched to MCT oil because it has less of the long chain fats. Because if they get, super sensitive, you're asking, which cats can and can't. He's had coconut oil all his life. But towards the end, with a diagnosis of pancreatitis, I knew he still needed fat to thrive. You just can't cut fat out of the diet. So I did give him the coconut oil, and Dr. Watson, same cat vet, he totally approved of it. It actually helped him thrive because what shocked my vet actually is typically he says that he's so young, and as he gets older, it could progress to choroiditis, which is an inflammation of the, cholangitis, the bile duct, and IBD, the inflammation in the gut, because they're kind of related. They're all itis.
It's like if you get one of the pancreatitis, eventually, if you don't take care of it, it will progress to one of the other three.
Or it may progress to the other three. And so he was really worried about that. And he's saying we need to watch for that so that it doesn't happen. But it never happened. And he was actually pretty impressed
with how
with the fact that it progressed to that level, because at his age when he was diagnosed and living to 20, and he also had kidney disease. So that was a whole balancing act. And I was not obviously afraid to give him coconut oil. As a matter of fact, I really felt, and with approval of Dr. Watson, who's not necessarily a holistic vet, he's also very conventional, but he understands medium chain fatty acids, and he knows cats very, very well. So he totally approved of that, of us giving it to him.
I think, fat is a vital macronutrient. And if you strip fats from the diet, so you have the proteins and you have the carbs, they need fats, and they'll suffer without it. So you need to give them an easy form of fats. Yeah. So we do know that, okay, it does not need chylomicron activity. It doesn't go into the lymphatic system. In fact, it goes straight to the liver. It's converted into ketones and uses energy. And everybody needs that for your brain, for your cells.
yeah.
So I think that's one of the reasons why our cats have thrived so much on it.
Yeah.
And we've seen that in the Philippines, living all our lives with our animals there.
With
It was
our
just
farm,
something we were
with
never
our farm
afraid
cats,
of. Yeah.
our farm cats at the farm, they lick up and
Our
eat coconut
dogs,
oil.
the scraps.
Yeah, the scraps, the coconut oil. I mean, they're constantly eating coconut oil. They put it in their food. I mean, they eat what people here would call table scraps, but in the Philippines, they don't call it table scraps. They call it cat food because they're making food for their cats, and they will put coconut oil in their food because that's what veterinarians they recommend. It's very strange. It is. Yeah.
The difference between there and here. That's the strange thing. You know what's interesting is I literally just right before this podcast answered a question from Newsweek about senior cats. And listening to you guys now, I wish I would have waited till after to answer this because you think about like the cognitive issues. You think about coconut oil. They were talking about the question was about senior cats that are aloof or low maintenance pets because they lay around a lot and they're not doing much. And I was talking about how like we have to be engaged with them and we have to get them up and moving around in eating a good diet and all that stuff. But think about coconut oil and what that can do for a senior cat that is, just doesn't have that energy.
Yep.
Like that's amazing.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can I ask? So we get your beautiful jars. That's what we cook with. That's what we give our cats for just a little snack, a little treat. But you guys also make the MCT 3 oils. That is it's a different kind of oil. We would put it in coffee.
Yeah.
But I see a comment here from Lori saying the MCT 3 coconut oil has really helped my cat Leo with his feline hyperesthesia. It's also helped with his cognitive issues, as Jay was just mentioning.
Yeah.
What's the difference between that? Is that like an extract of the best of the best? What is?
Yeah. Tell us the difference between MCT oil and coconut oil.
Well, so basically coconut oil, as we know, is about 63% medium chain fats. And then they have long chain fats, right? The MCT oil is just all medium chain fats,
Which is caprylic, lauric, and capric acid.
so we take away any long chain fats. So if a cat's extremely sensitive to fat, or you need something that will really convert to energy quickly, cross blood-brain barrier, it's the MCT oil.
Yeah.
So MCT oil is kind of like
So MCT
coconut
oil
oil
is about
steroids.
96% medium chain. Coconut oil is 64% medium chain.
Wow.
So that's the
That
difference.
really simplifies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your recommendation, when it comes to cats? I feel like we've always used the jar. Is it, if someone's really concerned about their cat, would you have them start with MCT 3?
If a cat is healthy, it doesn't have any lipid intolerance, they could start with the coconut oil. The key is to start slow. You're not going to give it a big glob. Honestly, a few licks every day is fine, and they can just build it up to maximum oral tolerance. But regular coconut oil is fine. Now, if they have a cat and they're afraid of and the cat's older, the cat has pancreatitis, it's very sensitive to fat, then they could start with the MCT oil. It really all depends on the cat. Obviously, and on the human, they have to be comfortable with giving it. So if they are in fear of coconut oil, which is extremely, healthy and safe, then they could definitely start with the MCT oil.
So what would you say the dosing is if you were to give coconut oil, let's say just for a healthy cat, right? Like we don't have somebody specifically asking a question about an unhealthy cat. So to keep our cats healthy and to give them the benefits of coconut oil, how much would you recommend that we give per day? And then what's the difference in that recommendation for MCT?
Right. Well, we always say a teaspoon per 10 pound, and then you can divide the dose.
For
But start
coconut
slow.
oil.
For coconut oil, 1 teaspoon, 10 pounds, right?
For MCT, it's half
Half
a teaspoon
So it's
for
half
10
that.
pounds. Yeah.
Yeah. But then we
But-
always say start slow, and when you see your cat's improving on it, stop at that level. You don't have to hit
Keep
a teaspoon.
going.
Your
Yeah.
cat, I think, will tell you. I mean, the cat could take a lot of coconut oil, you just lick it off the spoon, and I'm like, that's a lot of coconut oil. You okay?
Yeah.
And he was completely fine. And there's another cat who just a few licks was perfect for him.
I really
Yeah,
do
same
think
with ours.
self-selection, right? I feel like that's one of those things that cats are really good at. Our Mr. Biddles, may he rest in peace, sweet boy.
Mhm.
He always dealt with constipation. And so we wanted to make it part of his regular routine, right? And we would just put it on a spoon, and he would have a couple licks, and then there were times that he would finish the spoon, and I probably had more than a teaspoon on there.
Yeah.
But I think it's one of those things. It's kind of like a self-selection. I see. I love that you guys for everyone listening, please know that there are some articles that you guys wrote that really cover so much of it. Yeah, just recently, that really cover so much of this and so many of the concerns. I was really kind of floored by a lot of the concerns that people have about it. Can we talk a little bit? They say that it's pseudoscience. These benefits are rubbish.
Why does coconut oil get such a bad name? Like, I don't. Yeah, why is it so controversial? Like,
every time I see a post about coconut oil, like I saw your post recently, I think two things. One is like, oh, how nice. I'm so glad they're sharing about the benefits of coconut oil. The other side of me is like, oh my gosh, they're going to get it. Because
so brave.
People are so controversial. Even we get that. And we have a coconut oil website. You know what I mean? So I don't know why it's so controversial, other than the fact that, well, if you want to go really history, and Bruce Fife is the father of coconut oil in this country.
Yeah, Dr. Bruce
long
Fife.
ago in the 50s, when coconut oil was not so readily available in the United States, there was a lot of lobbying groups, and not to go into that thing, but they push corn oil, soybean oil, and that type of oils you can get in the United States. So they want to vilify coconut oil. Corn oil is it, canola oil, vegetable oil, soybean oil. Those are the best.
Yes,
it's
money.
like everything else.
Exactly.
Correct. So all the
Exactly.
studies that came out would do everything they could to vilify coconut oil, and the easiest way to do it is it's a saturated fat. Stay away from it. It's bad. It's going to clog your arteries.
Yeah.
But when we do know now that it actually doesn't, in fact, if you there's a lot of studies, there's new ones that came out in mice where they were given a high fat diet and coconut oil, and they saw that their LDL levels, went low, and their HDL levels increased a lot higher than the cats who were given olive oil, because they were comparing it. So increased a little bit with olive oil. It's a good oil. But with coconut oil, increased by 15%, the HDL.
Which is the good cholesterol.
Yeah. And they also saw that coconut oil has kind of a cholesterol cleaning way
Mechanism.
mechanism that they actually take in your arteries. What do you call that?
It cleans out
your arteries.
Yeah,
Like the
atherosclerosis.
It cleans it out, the cholesterol in your arteries, and it brings it to the liver, and it disposes of it.
Yeah.
So it actually reduces
That's actually a
cholesterol
study,
cholesterol clogged arteries.
But people that say it's snake oil and it actually doesn't exist, we actually have, they can actually download an ebook that we have on studies on coconut oil. There's actually thousands of peer-reviewed studies on the health benefits of coconut oil. Thousands. I'm not talking about anecdotal evidence. So there are actual studies, and not by us or not by companies. These are done in universities,
So this
on
book
diet
has
and nutrition.
Yeah, we put this ebook together, and we did it by different health categories: the heart, the kidney, just
Brain
brain
health.
health, and we put all the studies under each category, and they actually have links to the studies,
So they can read the studies themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. We need that.
Free. You can download it on our website.
Yeah, for free. And
my God.
each category has at least 20 studies. And
Per
it's
category.
per category. And it's growing. And there's just so much out
I
there.
update it every so often.
And each study has a little summary, but you can go click on it and read it yourself. So, that for people that says there's no studies, that's actually very false. There's just loads of studies.
I was really surprised by that, because I know that I've read a number of studies that we've looked into just for our own concern about what's actually going on. I thought it was interesting that people are just really riled up about it, when I felt like, we started looking into it a couple of years ago, many years ago. And so I kind of feel like, all that drama is kind of over, but no, people are really, they're holding on to it like a dog with a bone. And I thought it was interesting as well that there are so many people that really demeaned it and said, I'm using valid oils like fish oils that actually have omega-3. Now, these absolutely love omega-3 oil, right?
Yes.
But completely different as far as, can you explain to people if they're like, I would never use coconut oil, I'm only using fish oil. Can you explain a response to that?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, there are two very different types of oil. So fish oil is a polyunsaturated fat. So just the nature of it, it tends to go rancid. So You have to be very careful. You have to get a very good source of fish oil and store it properly. Don't get a big jug of it. Get just what you're going to use, because the minute you open a bottle of fish oil, it starts to go rancid. It oxidizes immediately. So oils that oxidize are pro-inflammatory, and they can cause oxidative stress. So fish oil is great. It is an essential fatty acid. And it helps with brain. You need it. Your brain health, anti-inflammatory, and all that. Coconut oil has crossovers. The thing about coconut oil, it's so stable. It's not prone to rancidity, and it's a great carrier oil. So I like to give omega-3s and coconut oil together. Before I used to rotate. I'm like, wait a minute, they're two completely
There's actually a
different
study
oils.
now that shows that
together they are very beneficial.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah, given
actually
together.
helps carry the fish oil to the brain, because it's good for brain inflammation.
Yeah.
People use coconut oil or MCTs to carry CBD oil, fish oil. It's such a great carrier
Yeah.
oil, and it's so anti-inflammatory.
Well, because it helps with the absorption of nutrients. That's, one of the main things. It also helps with immune
right.
function. It helps with the formation of cell membrane. So it's important in that aspect as well. So it's different from fish oil because it does things that, like fish oil, for example, it is essential, but it's not antibacterial, antifungal, microbial. So it doesn't kill harmful bacteria in your body like coconut oil does. That's one main difference. The other difference is fish oil doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier. And there's so many studies that prefer coconut oil to brain health and cognitive health and seizures, compared to fish oil. Like fish oil won't help that. So when it comes to seizures or brain activity, feline cognitive decline or canine cognitive decline, then they would recommend coconut oil or MCT oil as opposed to an omega-3. So that's another benefit. It's also very anti-inflammatory, like Crazy says, so it helps with joint health. Well, fish oil does too, but
Yeah, it does.
like she said, there's some crossovers.
Yeah.
Let's talk about real quick, just to bullet them out real quick, because, you mentioned it earlier, it's very anti-inflammatory, it's antibacterial. Like we use it for topical stuff. We always recommend if you've got coconut oil at your house and you've got a cat with a boo-boo or a little rash, put that on just to help.
Yeah.
stop the itching.
Like off the top of your head, what are
some of the
all
best
the
benefits?
all the extra benefits that that cats can get specifically from coconut oil?
Cat acne. My cat Sebastian had cat acne, and I was
Yeah.
like, ew, what's that? And it was just real bumpy. I applied coconut oil every day, and literally in less than a week, it was clear.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a
Yeah.
big thing.
Yeah, and cleaning their ears, because I had a cat with goopy ears. I don't know why his ears was just constantly goopy, but I would clean his ears with coconut oil.
Yep.
So it helped. It was always red, his ears. So if I cleaned it out with coconut oil, that
Hairball,
really-
it's really good for hairballs because it helps expel.
Yeah.
Constipation, like you said.
Yeah.
It's really good. Sebastian has a very sensitive tummy, so I give him coconut oil, and I feel like it helps absorb the nutrients better for him.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love that.
Time
Now
to reorder
let's
MCT
talk
or-
let's talk about the taste, right? Because everybody knows the biggest thing
challenges.
when it comes to cats is
taste.
cats are picky, right? So our cats, all of our cats have loved coconut oil. As she said, some of them will lick a little bit and then go away. Some of them will lick and lick and lick and lick and want the whole spoon. But it's like a great little treat for our cats, right? But for cats that are like, you give it to them on a spoon or whatnot, and they're like, I don't want that. How would you recommend going about getting it into your cats to get the benefit of it?
We would recommend putting a little bit on their gums or putting it on their paws so they can lick their paws. And cats are just creatures of habit. I think it's just the smell or the texture, they're not used to it, especially the smell. So if they get used to the smell, a little bit on their paws, a little bit on their, gums, maybe just a little tweak. I mean, don't hold them down and traumatize them.
Yeah.
But
I think they get used to
they
the
just
smell.
get used to it. But like you said, I don't think I've ever had a cat that didn't like coconut oil, but I know they do exist.
Yeah, in our post on Monday about coconut oil, there were people saying, I tried it with my cat won't have it. My cat won't have it. I'm like, really? But I mean, every cat is different, right? I mean, cats are notorious for being picky.
Yeah.
There are, we have certain supplements that 99% of people like, or maybe I'd say 95% of people feedback is like, my cat loves this food so much more when this is in it. But then the other 5% is like, I can't get my cat to touch its food when it's in it, you know, because cats, they're individuals and they all have.
Don't put it in the food because then it won't touch it. Because I had a cat long ago, so I would not mix it. The only way I would do it was hold it in my finger, and she would sniff at it, and I go boop. And then it was on her nose, and then she's like, "Oh," she'll start licking her nose or her paws. And then after a while, it was fine, and that's the way I would give it. I necessarily would not mix it in her food. I was just hold it out, and she would sniff at it, and I'll just tap her nose with it. Then she got used to it. Yeah,
I like that. I like that.
Your Patrick also is brilliant because it's like if you have a cat that is in need, you know, and it's like, ooh, this is really hard to get in. I definitely. Mr. Biddles hated it in his food. He wouldn't touch his food, but he licked it off the spoon. Way. These guys are they'll just lick it off the spoon, but we don't even try putting it in their food in case they're, oh, that's way too fragrant for me. But, you know, just putting a little bit on your finger, on their paws, and let them lick and get used to it. And I think it is one of those things that cats, especially if they know their body needs it, will naturally start to self-select, you know, for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Liz is asking about what brand. So CocoTherapy is the brand that we use and highly recommend. Link is in the description here. If you guys want to check out their website, check out they have all kinds of different products for kitties and dogs. If you guys are, you know, bipetual.
I see Marilyn is here. She is bipetual and she rotates fish oil and CocoTherapy.
Yeah. And then Liz is also asking, how do I know if omega-3 went bad? So when it comes to fish oil, our go-to is you got to store it in the fridge, right? You got to keep it as tight as possible. So when you use it, if you open it up and it's exposed to oxygen, then it starts to, just as they said, starts to go rancid, it starts to oxidize. And you want to use whatever amount that you have opened within 30 days at right.
Do you guys have any hard and fast rules about avoiding that?
When it comes to coconut oil, what is the best way to store it for?
We just store it in our kitchen
on the kitchen counter.
Table. It does not need to be refrigerated. It's so stable. In fact, in tropical countries like the Philippines, Sri Lanka, India, all where coconut oil is a staple, it's completely liquid. It's not solid like it is here in the US, and it just sits on the kitchen counter. And it's not prone to rancidity. We actually have lot numbers in our coconut oil. Not all coconut oil manufacturers do that, but you can see a lot number. We trace it, and we have kept lots for 5 years, and we test it for rancidity, and it does not go rancid. That is how stable saturated fats are.
Saturated
fats are very stable. They don't have that missing hydrogen atom, so they don't break down and get oxidized.
But again, this goes back to the types of coconut oil, because coconut oil has different moisture content. So something that you really want is a lower moisture content. If you have coconut oil with a higher moisture content, it will oxidize faster than
because of the water,
because of the moisture.
It's the way it's squeezed. It's just the way they press the oil. So everything, it just depends on how it's made.
That's critical, how it's made.
And there's no problem putting it in the fridge though, right? If it's, say, 113 degrees like it is here today, and out on the counter it's liquid, just totally but our cats actually like it. They like it a little. They like it. They don't really like to lick it as the cream, or they don't get as excited about it as if they do when it's a little bit harder, and they can lick it like
ice cream.
Right. Then they really like to.
You can definitely. It doesn't hurt it at all, and but it gets rock hard. I'll say that it gets very hard. You kind of have to scrape the top off. But some people prefer it that way than like a little bit softer.
Wow.
And you know, I remember, and Adrian, you were saying for the fragrance, if cats don't like the fragrance, because I had a friend whose cat didn't like it, but they didn't mind the MCT oil because it has a lighter fragrance than the coconut oil. I mean, texture is one thing if they like the harder oil, but if the fragrance is too strong or bothering them, so the MCT oil is a lighter fragrance and taste, I think, of coconut. So it's not heavy.
You know, because I think we tried that with Twist. I remember him being like, it was just like too fragrant for him. And we had the MCT oil and we did sardine treats, you know, good source of omega-3s and natural source. And so that's something that's super smelly. And you just put a tiny bit in and they're able to get a good dose in.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
little trickery here and there, but
that's a good trick.
Is it
Yeah.
is it safe for kittens? Is it safe for cats
Yes.
of all ages?
Absolutely, it is, and puppies too. I mean, think about it. Milk has the highest medium chain fats. That's why it's good for it.
Especially lauric acid.
Yeah, lauric acid. So goat's milk is extremely high than human's milk. So it's
Yeah.
safe for kittens.
They've been getting it since they were
Yeah.
born.
Yep.
So
medium
yeah.
chain fats since
Yeah.
they were in their mother's
Yeah.
milk.
And again, aside from that, if people think, well, they were drinking mother's milk when they were babies, now they don't need milk anymore, because there's that train of thought that they don't need milk because they're all full grown. But so it could be harmful. But my only thing is to people that feel like you have to be careful with it or not give it to kittens or cats, is our life experience for generations living and growing up with coconut oil with ourselves and our animals that's had it since they were kittens or puppies all the way to adults with veterinarians. I think that's what gives us a great comfort level, knowing it's not harmful
Because
for
we've seen it
animals.
for ourselves.
Yeah.
And also, if you think about the countries that use coconut oil as their primary oils, they don't have corn oil or soybean oil, like India, Sri Lanka, the Philippines.
Yeah.
The obesity levels in these countries is very, very low. You will not see but by then
Yeah.
they Western food.
Yes. They're going to McDonald's.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
every day.
They go to a Western diet, but the obesity levels are very
Yeah.
low in those countries, and coconut oil is their primary source of fat.
Yeah.
Alzheimer's and dementia is very low in those countries as well, in the
Yeah.
Philippines.
Yeah.
So it's like my grandmother and all the old people that I remember in the Philippines, they were sharp as a tack. You know what I mean? You couldn't
sneak one
sneak
by
anything
them.
past them because they were so sharp till past their 90s.
Yeah.
I
I'm
love
gonna
that
get my folks on this.
Yeah, right. I need to get my folks on it. So you guys mentioned that you've been using this all the way up into veterinary care. So you guys work with so many veterinarians, and like I said earlier, that's how we were first introduced to your brand, was through the most followed veterinarian in the world, who of course we follow too. And something that she had mentioned about it, how often, like what do you guys see as far as conventional medicine versus holistic medicine, or is it just kind of across the board for a lot of veterinarians that they're like, yeah, coconut oil is good?
Well, I like to think that in today's day and age, with so much research out there, that more conventional veterinarians are getting on board with coconut oil. Unfortunately, it's not always true, because we went to in Illinois, the emergency vet clinic. There was a poster up on their bulletin board. It said, foods not to give to animals
That are poisonous
that
to
are
animals.
poisonous to animals. So they list onions and garlic and blah blah blah, raisins,
Garlic
and
isn't even that
coconut.
We saw coconut
We saw
oil.
coconut oil
I was
on
like,
it.
"Oh."
This was at a veterinarian emergency clinic with
Yeah.
that poster, and Grace and I looked at it and we just chuckled, because
But here's the funny thing, though. With conventional medicine, they know MCTs are healthy, but there's a disconnect in their brain. They don't understand that MCTs come from coconut oil. So I've actually had a vet say, we're going to give your little Yorkie this beautiful MCT oil. And I looked at it. It was literally fish oil. It was a fancy
She
vet
was
prescribed
confused.
fish oil. And
Yeah.
she called it an MCT oil. So at that point, I mean, she was a vet. And I didn't
And
say
super
a
smart.
word. I just kept my
Yeah.
mouth shut. I said, okay, whatever. I did not want to lecture her on MCT oil and fish oil and the difference. But in their head,
She was a
they-
nephrologist, by the way, a kidney specialist. So
Yeah,
she was very,
yeah.
so she is recommending this oil, which is,
but she called it MCT. So I know there's a disconnect because everybody knows MCTs are very healthy.
what she called it, fish oil. But
Yeah, fish oil, MCT oil
yeah,
slash.
But
But if you look at a lot of formulations for preemies and kidneys and gastroenterologists, L-glutamine, there will always be some MCT oil in there somewhere. And so MCT oil is accepted in conventional medicine, but they don't understand that it comes from coconut oil.
Connection.
yeah.
Crazy.
We need to find that. I will drop the link to the page where people can download that ebook that you guys put together. I know in this day and age, people are cynical. They're skeptical of everything. I really appreciate y'all's transparency, even though you guys live in a world where this is a very controversial thing, and you continue to share the information that is really life-changing. It's a game changer for so many people and their pets. So I will add that link into the description of this video, because I love, for someone that wants to read a poster somewhere and think that coconuts are poison, you have an opportunity to do your own research. And I think that's one of the big things for all of us, especially in the cat community. I think we recognize that we are a cat's only advocate, right? And so we do our best to learn what we can. And so thank you for consolidating that information. We got Laura Lee here, who has a kitty with a heart condition. Is it okay for kitties with heart conditions?
Yes,
Definitely.
absolutely. In fact, the coconut oil is protects the heart and the arteries. As we mentioned earlier, it actually helps clean up the cholesterol from the arteries and pull it out. So, and there's a lot of studies too in that ebook.
There's a heart
section on just on heart health. Yep.
Nice. All right, Sissy's actually already dropping the link here in the comments.
You, Sissy.
So if you guys want to go and check out all of that information, the link is here. Thank you so much, Sissy, for dropping those. And thank you, ladies, so much for your brilliance, for your hard work. You guys are 15 years doing this as CocoTherapy now?
I think 20, closer to 20. Yeah.
Years. This is CocoTherapy. Like, wow. Like you guys are
a brand though, but for coconut oil
in general,
generations, 3 generations of making coconut oil.
And thank you for bringing it here, and thank you for bringing it to the pets, and thank you for bringing the awareness of.
And thank you for your stamina
benefits.
to continue offering information and offering kindness. And I think it is it's one of those things. I know that there's natural stuff. There's so many natural things. This is something that is ages old, and it's been used for so long, and there's so much science out there about it. And it can be a real opportunity for someone who's dealing with any one of these issues. And I really encourage everyone, go to the description, read those articles that they shared. There are references at the bottom for the studies that are referenced. So it's really an empowering. You guys did a great job of specifically for us cat people. Thank you. Specifically for us cat people, giving some really empowering information. Anything before we wrap up, we could talk to you guys.
Well, I want to say one more thing, because we get the benefits for so many specific things, but every single cat has would benefit from coconut oil on a daily basis because of the very common things, right? The skin and coat, right? You want your cat's skin and coat to be better. You want to avoid those hairballs, especially if you're in the process of you've just not been able to get your cat onto, whether it's money, whether it's pickiness, whatever, you haven't been able to get them onto a good diet. This is key. This is going to be a great added benefit to get your cat to resolve all those other internal issues that are going on, especially with digestion,
inflammation,
right, because of the diet. This is a great way to add in another benefit, and a little baby step to help them on a regular basis. So
I love it.
I love it. Thank you for having us, especially you ladies that are the cat experts.
Read the articles, people. You'll see. Anything top of mind that we missed or that we didn't hit on enough?
No, I think we did. I just think it's people need to remember coconut oil is an essential facilitative and functional fat. It's a macronutrient. It's not a drug. It's not a supplement. It's food. So that's how we give it. And that's how we've used it for generations, for ourselves and our animals.
That's an excellent
I love that.
Quote.
That is an excellent way to.
Now I have to go write a blog myself.
Yes. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, all of you guys who are listening today. And go get some coconut oil, CocoTherapy.com. Very easy, CocoTherapy.com. And we will see you all very soon.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.